Well, welcome to my first video, and yeah, let's get started. Hello, welcome to the Garnet Arts channel. Of course, I'm Garnet, and this is a channel where I document and track my progress into becoming a comic book artist. Now, the whole point of this YouTube channel is to create my own and write my own comic book, and this is gonna be a long journey. However, if you do like the video and wish for me to continue this in the future, please like, subscribe, and let's get started. First thing that I kind of want to do right now is start, probably practicing the skull. I've already drawn a circle here. I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first video after all, and I never really recorded myself drawing, so here I go. Now recently, maybe a couple of days ago, or for a couple of days actually, I was watching the David Finch channel, and what I was watching was the way he created the head. And in that video, he sort of did something like this where he cuts off the side edges after drawing the circle. It took me a minute, but this is what I call a Play-Doh eraser. I don't know if you can see it there, but this is the eraser that I'm going to be using for maybe the entirety of this channel. So I'm going to do something like this. Right, like a tip of Play-Doh. We're all mature here. There we go. I just want to erase those sides to lack up the confusion. And just a random thought here. I know there's some art channels out there that say like, oh, you shouldn't be erasing bad, erasing makes you confident, and I can agree on that. That jaw's way too long, and I can agree on that, but the one thing that I will disagree with is the one thing making you perfect. And like that, I'm not an expert artist, and I'm not saying I disagree with them, but if you're new and if your whole thing is to draw, make art, right? You shouldn't be striving for improvement right away. And I say that with the intention of helping you unleash your creative potential rather than having this expectation already that you should already being good at art, and which is just unrealistic. However, if willing, if you guys want me to draw with pen, please comment down below. Maybe we can do some pen sessions here. But the reason why I'm starting with heads is because not only I'm more familiar with them, but I feel like it's the most thing I have experience in. Drawing the head, at least in the way that I'm doing it. I'm sorry for the light going off and off, that's just my camera. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I can really understand the head properly. And so this is going to be my first session. Now what I'm doing right now is that I've already marked out the eyebrow line, and now I'm adding sockets. And the reason why I want to add these sockets is so that way we can get an idea of what we want our eyes. I make a place for the nose, of course the place for the chin, maybe kind of define the little nose right there, the nose bridge. Maybe that's wrong, maybe that's right, I don't really know, I don't really care right now. it's more toward the middle for you guys. So right now, there we go. There's an eye socket. There's an eye socket. And I'm just gonna create a line for the mouth. That's gonna be my mouth for now. And right here, I'm just gonna draw on the eye. So I'm gonna make that socket a little bit bigger. And now I'm going to draw the eye. Now what I like to do, and this is what I've seen on David Finch's video, is these two lines is where the eye is going to sit in. And then the breast right here is going to be the eye socket, in which we can add shadow and stuff. And so, just making sure. There it is here. There we go. That's my best version of an eye, actually. So we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Not really trying to be perfect here. I just want to get the idea of eyes down and move on. And then from here to like right here is where I have an idea. I'm gonna place my nose stuck. Actually, let me do this. That nose is not nosing right now. Also, as we draw, I'm gonna get an idea of what we need to improve on here. Now, we gotta be careful when we say that. And that's just because that's really vague, what we just said. It's very vague. And the one thing we don't want to do is deter us or even like distract us from progressing in art. In this field, because it can really get lost. You can really get lost if you don't know where you're going. So that's my best version of a plain mannequin head. Now we can also come in here and just do something and just leave it. This is my version of a head. As you can see, it's really, I don't really like how it looks. I definitely do think I need to be better with my lines. But I'm probably being too harsh on myself. You gotta allow yourself to be a kid sometimes. Because in this field in particular, that's what comes out. It's that aspiring young kid that all he wants to do is draw and not care about a single thing in the world. Here's our not. Ears and not earring. The ears are way off. I think since the head's a little bit tilted, you can show less ear on this. There we go. And then we can add hair. Now, hair was always the issue that I had with drawing heads. not the number one issue, but it was like one thing I avoided. And I kind of want to change that now. I don't want to, you know, I'm not looking at any references, by the way. I'm just going about it how I feel. I feel like this is a little too round. You know, maybe his barber messed him up somewhere. Yeah, his barber definitely messed him up. Like that, I'm just having fun with it, man. You don't gotta be hard on yourself. Now that doesn't mean don't improve, it just means, you know, sometimes you gotta stop caring about how the progress is and just let loose. Well, probably gotta try here. Maybe I add something in the front here. Something like that. And then make this point out more. Maybe line that up a bit. That way I don't get confused. I like that. I'm not like a beginner artist. I don't think. More of a intimate artist, as you can tell. I'm not like any of the great artists. MG. Hopefully I'm saying that right. In a minute. Rest in peace. MG, David Finch, you know, Proco. I'm not any of those artists, but I definitely take little bits of information from them and then I apply it for what I draw. So now that I got this down, kind of has a little bit right. Those are way too puffy. It's a little bit difficult because there is a camera in front of me after all, but I don't really know if I'm really doing that right. No, I'm not. I don't really like how that looks either. Alright, maybe we don't draw definition on the lip. Maybe. Now he looks sad. They're taking away his lips, now he's fucking sad. There we go. Now he's disappointed. So yeah. We can also give him eyebrows. I mean, what we're doing is just really experimenting with the knowledge that we know. And I think that's important for a lot of art, is just going in, raw dog, and drawing. Like no fallback, no nothing, no reference. Not saying you can't use references, but when you're first warming up, I would say when you're new to drawing, and this is something that I wish I would have done instead of just going in tutorial spamming, and that was just draw lines. You know, I probably would have been more consistent with my progress if, you know, I wasn't so hard on just trying to get the ideas down. Though it doesn't look bad, but I think I would have been a lot more further if I just slowed down. If I would just slow down a bit, think like, hey, what are the fundamentals here? Slow down and say, hey, I need to figure out the fundamentals of drawing. Look that up, be like, oh, it's a bunch of boxes and circles, you know, set the bar low. Just draw like a box a day. Sorry, draw like a box a day, you know? Do something like that. And then as you get more advanced, then you can add everything else later. And this is the other thing too. Let me just draw another head while I talk here, because you guys know the idea by now. Is the other thing too is that just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? God damn it. But the thing about, you know, getting into art for the first time, at least in my experience, was really difficult. And despite that difficulty, I continue to draw. Though I wasn't consistent. I wasn't very consistent at all. There were times where I would draw like days at a time, you know, and then I would draw like every hour 1 month, and then I'll draw like once every other month, and then the next month again. You know, experience this like cycle of burnout. And what that trained my brain to do was forget, and then being forced to remember all of that information at once, it became overbearing. But now that I'm starting this YouTube channel, I'm hoping to become more consistent. I'm hoping to drop a video at least every other day. Of course, with work and, you know, having 2 jobs, I think I can fit at least a video a week, if not a month. Or just whenever I can, you know, whenever I think, hey, I want to draw, I should just start recording and talking. Because I do yap a lot, and I just need to get these thoughts. At least when it comes to art, there's a lot on my mind on that. How things work and how my ideas flow from my head to the paper, and I think that would be a really interesting YouTube channel. Call me Sir Yaps a lot, but... or Garnet Yaps. Something like that. I don't know. Good idea for another YouTube channel though. Just yap about random thoughts. Random things. Mainly about art. I'm not really into all the politics and stuff. So now I'm gonna create this dip right here. And I'm gonna flatten out this part of the head. And that's just because it's gonna give me some depth on what I'm trying to do here. Now, I'm not gonna draw the nose in detail. I'm just gonna get in the very basics of what I want on this paper. And then I want to, along this line, draw the eye socket. flatten out this part, flatten out this part. And that's the thing with, at least how I see anatomy, is that a lot of it is just a bunch of curved, sharp lines. There's no like, you know, there's not a whole lot of like curving going on, but at least when it comes to like drawing the anatomy, because I've noticed that when you keep a lot more things round, it becomes a lot more cartoony. So by boxing those things first and then drawing it in later, you know, the detail, you can really get a good looking art piece. And so with that being said, I'm going to draw my eye in here. I'm not going to really worry about how it looks. I just want to have something to represent the eye. Something to represent, you know, the eyebrow. Do something like that. And then I really want to, you know, I just want to care about proportions right now. Not so much about detail. And as you can see here, we can really improve on this. I noticed that, you know, despite the eyes being like cartoonish and dovish, we can really fix like this area right here. And the reason why I say that is because unless, you know, I train my mind to see it differently, I'm gonna keep, you know, making this edge way too long or sharp. Maybe I just do something like this. That looks a lot more better. I probably need to, I mean, this is a really long face, and proportions being not so mandatory, I still want to be able to be satisfied. That looks a lot more better. A lot more better. And then I'm gonna come over here. Use this empty space right here. And then draw the back of my head. Forgive me, I forgot to pause recording. We're gonna be drawing the back of the head now. And the reason why I draw it from the side, front, and the back, all right here, is so that way we can get a more consistent art style. You know, because everyone talks about, like, oh, finding an art style, right? But no one really wants to be consistent with an art style. I don't really hear much about that. You know, being consistent of your art. Now, since this is just the back of the head, we really ain't gonna see much of the front or any features in particular. However, you can define where this muscle is, right here. And then from back here, come down and loosely draw in my traps or my back muscles. And the reason why it looks all like ugh is because, you know, I don't really know. A1, I don't have any references in front of me. And 2, we're training our brain to bring back all of that information. So if I get something wrong here, I'm sorry. But, you know, come to think about it, I said consistent art style. And I think that's what these artists mean when it comes to drawing a lot. You know? because while the art is very unique, right? And let me just tying this up here. While the art is very unique and very, you know, beautiful, I would say. That's the word I would use for it. Because every time I see comic book art, every time I'll see like a painting, like Leonardo da Vinci, I don't know, like even sometimes like a cover of a band album, you know, it makes you really want to think about how can you think of something like that? And thinking about that is just that you just do it all the time. That's what I'm saying. At least the art part, you know, not the music, yes, but you know what I mean. And so, what they mean by draw a lot, it's about consistency, but also consistency of the way you draw. Is what they're trying to tell you is, at least in my opinion, that when you draw more, you get more consistent with your style. And the more consistent your style is, the more easier other things that you can't draw become. Because you already have a set path, all you gotta do is walk it. So now we draw the back of the head. It looks ugly. It looks very ugly. We can work on that. We can do better than that. But for right now, we can let that happen. Now, I kind of want to draw. You know, it's going to be a little bit bigger, but who cares? This side of the head. These are just really basic, very basic drawings, in my opinion. There are some artists out there that can do way more better than this. And that's okay. It's okay that we suck. We gotta allow ourselves to suck. We gotta allow ourselves to bear the burden of imperfection. So that way growth can be allowed. And this is really, really, really interesting here. Because despite saying that, I can already see that we're starting to improve on our art. Come down a little bit here. Come out with our nose. Maybe this is a pointy ass nose. Come down here. Our eye socket. You know, despite not making those sharp curves, which by the way I'm probably gonna do now because it's kind of bothering me now. And then rounding them out. Drawing the next one down here. Like that, we're gonna get more organized when it comes to studying, but right now I just want to draw. I don't want to study. I just want to remember what I can and just do it. He's a little too cartoony for my liking. A little bit better. See, as we do things like this, we can figure out where to improve. We don't have to guess where we need to improve. We can just know where to improve. And I think, of course, besides from detailing, that's gonna have to come with you know, finding our art style, but I definitely do think that there's potential here, a lot of potential to create something unique and worth looking at. All right, well, we got that out the way. What else could we do? What else could we do here? You know, maybe now that we're here, drawing heads, maybe I can just come in here like this, draw it from these heads from a different angle. I kind of took a break from drawing for a little bit just to eat, and now I'm back. Probably like a little indirect pause. Now I have my dog in my room now, so you hear crying, he just wants some attention. I'll give it to him when I can. There we go. So what we're gonna do now is just draw the head in that downward angle. And as you can tell, why I want to erase. I think earlier I was mentioning the idea of erasing, and if you guys wanted to do pen sessions, but I think this is going to be my best head drawing right now. Let my computer charge, and who knows, maybe I can get in another video tonight or tomorrow like that. I'm going to be pumping out a lot of these, and the next video, it's going to be about, you know, actually studying. But for my first video, I just want to demonstrate to you that I don't want to have the expectation of being this miraculous artist. I just sort of want to put out there that I am an aspiring artist, that I don't, despite it me taking art seriously, I also don't take it seriously, if you know what I mean. I don't have an expectation, but I do. I don't know if that makes any sense to any of you guys, but to me it makes sense, because I don't know, I just think if you view art that way, as this, if you view art as a chore, you're going to resent it. And that's just natural for our brains. It's natural for us to get rid of the things that are difficult and bring about something that's easier, because that's how we survived for thousands of years. But by persevering through that, by having the sense of accomplishment that we all have within ourselves, we can definitely strive to become better at it. And if we put too much strain on that side that does want to get better, that does want to succeed in the art of any art field, we end up self-sabotaging and destroy ourselves from within, corrupting our self-worth and manipulating ourselves to think that, you know, maybe it's not enough, when really what you should be saying is, you know what, it may not be on par, but it's better than yesterday, and that's all that matters, is that you get better. So now that I'm drawing it at this downward angle, these is the angles that I mainly struggle with, then I never really got the hang of. And a part of that is because I think everything is just a little bit awkward when I try to draw it in this way. It's just because I'm so used to the more straightforward, you know, basic up and downs, and never really the view that's kind of like, you know, sort of like that, like pointing downwards. I don't know if you guys can see that. So the next time I drop I'll drop a video. It's gonna be about, you know, portrait drawings, and I want to make a mine right now. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna be learning more about portraits and stuff, but we're just going to allow this to happen. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna allow this to happen. I'm gonna allow this to be my grand opus. I'm just gonna draw the eye here. Maybe cut off that head a little bit. You know, and that's it. You know, probably that's the best way we can do for right now, and that's okay. We have plenty of time to improve. And while I guess I had to end here because I no longer have any battery on my MacBook, but I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this Yap session. And in the future, I definitely have more things that I want to plan out. Have content like this, but also have more like structured content. So a little bit of structured content and a little bit more, you know, authentic content like this. You know, there's gonna be learning sessions that I'm gonna be scripting out, and then things where I just draw and yap and just talk about the art and a little bit about myself and as an artist. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and with that being said, I hope you guys have a good night.